Wampas are among the most powerful creatures in the galaxy, even stronger than the brown-furred Wookiees on Kashyyyk. But tales of their hunting patterns and the Taun Tauns they preyed on are rarely recorded in galactic records, except one. Join us on today's underrated moment as we take a look at one Wampa in particular as he roamed the surface of Hoth in search of food and bit off more than he bargained for. The white snow-covered mountains of Hoth made it seem more welcoming than other planets in the western reaches. But only after a few moments on the frigid surface of the world, visitors would quickly see how wrong they were. With a simple bioscan, an Imperial probe of the Galactic Civil War discovered that the surface of Hoth was almost barren. Like one other famous Outer Rim planet, Tatooine, Hoth was essentially long stretches of inhospitable terrain broken up by tiny clusters of wildlife that were all supported by rapidly reducing natural resources. One day, while an Imperial droid hovered amidst the peaks of Shiloh's crest, it noticed a rare event, a Wampa hunt. A small family of Taun Tauns had gathered at the end of a frozen lake. Although it would have seemed like nothing to a passerby, the graceful bipedal creatures had discovered a relative feast in the form of short-grown lichen. The hardy moss-like plant wasn't much, but it filled their bellies and gave them the necessary energy to continue their journey as they trekked towards next season's mating grounds. The lake was carved into the heights of a wide mountain range. Although it was the perfect elevation and temperature for lichen to grow, the natural landscape also provided giant craggy stones for cover, perfect for a predator who was on the hunt. Always cautious, the Taun Tauns took turns looking out for any signs of other creatures in the area. But they should have looked more carefully earlier. Had they shown more caution before they decided to graze, they would have noticed a line of deep, clawed tracks, a telltale sign that a Wampa was near. Unbeknownst to the family, from behind the cover of a giant ice-covered stone, a Wampa dared to peek its head out and keep an eye on his prey. With Taun Tauns packs growing ever rarer, it wasn't unlikely that the Wampa had trekked up to 100 kilometers for this hunt. As the apex predator on the planet, it had grown into a niche through a careful strategy of stalking, hiding, and ambushing its prey. But now it was desperate. As the wind shifted direction, the Taun Tauns looked yet again to the rocky ridge where the Wampa had bided his time. Although they didn't sense it at first, it only took a final gust to bring the smell of a Wampa to the Taun Tauns' noses. And as if a blaster shot had gone off, signaling the start of a race, the entire group of Taun Tauns took off in a spring in the opposite direction. Fearing that his prey would get away, the Wampa quickly leapt out from behind the stone and galloped towards the family of graceful white-furred beasts. With such a large gap between him and the Taun Tauns, the predator was intuitively aware that he might not get a meal today. Even though Wampas could sprint much faster than other animals on Hoth, they could only sustain it for short distances, and sprinting to the other side of the lake and then tackling a Taun Taun was a tall order, even for the giant subspecies of white-furred monsters that lived in the higher mountains. But the Wampa's four-limbed pursuit, which stood in contrast to its typical bipedal walking form, went by surprisingly quick. Soon, the Wampa was mere inches away from an older Taun Taun that had struggled to keep pace with the rest of the family. Hoping to once again sink his fangs into fresh Taun Taun meat, the Wampa braced its lower legs and then leapt into the air. But right before it could bury its black claws into its prey, a black Durasteel Imperial probe droid popped in between them, tripping the Wampa in the process and allowing the Taun Taun to run free. Had the droid not intervened, then the Wampa surely would have won its dinner that night and aided Hoth's greater ecosystem by ensuring the Taun Tauns didn't overeat the little lichen that grew around high-elevation lakes and ponds. But the droid did intervene, and the Wampa would have to make do. Just as it would treat a freshly killed Taun Taun, the Wampa dragged the droid back to his cave, attached it to the ceiling with ice, and left it there to ripen until it was ready to eat.